I'm Patrick Corelchi.
And I'm Adriana Cortez, and we're the hosts of Red Pilled America, a new storytelling podcast.
Red Pilled America is not another talk show covering the day's news. We are all about telling stories. Stories Hollywood doesn't want you to hear. Stories the media mocks. Stories about everyday Americans that the elites ignore. You could think of Red Pilled America as audio documentaries, and we promise only one thing: the truth.
Visit the iHeartRadio app right now to listen to Red Pilled America.
Susan, it's so great to finally be able to get together again.
Oh, it sure is. And I really appreciate you picking up the bill.
I'm happy to. I've got the extra cash. Since we've all been driving so much more again, I've been using Get Upside, the free gas app that pays you cash back for every gallon of gas you buy.
Wait a minute. Are you saying you actually get paid cash when you buy gas with the Get Upside app?
Yes, up to 25 cents a gallon. Cash back every time I buy gas.
Does that actually add up to anything?
Some months I make $200 to $300.
Wow, that's serious extra cash. I'm downloading the free Get Upside app now.
Download the free Get Upside app now in the App Store or Google Play to save up to 25 cents a gallon when you buy gas. Use promo code PHIL for a 25 cents a gallon bonus on your first tank. That's up to 50 cents a gallon on your next fill-up. You can cash out anytime to PayPal or an e-gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Get Upside app and use promo code PHIL for a 25 cents a gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code PHIL.
John and Ken Show, KFI AM 640, live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app. Breaking news, or is it breaking fake news today? LA City Councilman Mike Bonin, who, let me think, just a week ago was served a notice of intention to recall from office. Okay. And I think the week before that, the LA County Sheriff, Alex Villanueva, sent some deputies in there along with some social workers to do something about the problems in Venice with the homeless. So today, Bonin announces on Twitter, in an email, in a press release, that we're launching a major effort to confront the homelessness crisis at Venice Beach, addressing the safety needs of the housed and the unhoused, and fully reopen the park and beach for general public use. How? We're offering housing, not handcuffs. Beginning Monday, outreach teams will offer housing, shelter, and services to the approximately 200 people who live in boardwalk encampments, which have grown amid the COVID-19 pandemic. Here comes a key part. Those who do not accept housing will have to leave the area by a certain date. What is that date? What do we know about this? This is a stunt. Kind of looks that way. Let's talk to somebody on the inside. Venice Stakeholders Association President Mark Rayovic is coming back on the show to respond to this bottom announcement. Do you think it's a stunt? What is this, Mark?
I think he's finally been embarrassed so much by all of the incidents out there, the fires, the shootings, the assaults, poor old entertainers getting sucker punched on the boardwalk, and the fact that the sheriff, in his good graces, stepped in and started what needed to be done, which is an assessment and starting to place these poor folks into housing or rehab or helping them connect with a relative back in El Paso or in Madison or somewhere else. He got so embarrassed that he finally did what he could have done 7 years ago when he took office. And he could have said, no, this is a park. There's a law against camping in all LA's parks, including beach parks. And he could have stopped all of this at any point in the last 7 years. And I look at it very cynically that he almost wants these encampments to be right in front of the public's face so that he can get the money for all the housing he wants, for all the services he wants. It's a kind of extortion. And finally, the public has said no. And thank God, the sheriff said, no, we're going to regulate this public space and return it to the public.
Well, all right. So he's been moved to put out a statement, right? Twitter, email, press release. But does that mean he'll actually follow up? This has echoes of Echo Park Lake, where basically everyone's going to be approached and dealt with. And if they don't go, they're going to be told to go. Do you think that'll actually happen?
It is possible, since you have both the sheriff's host team down there, and these guys are really good at what they do. And you'll have all the resources and counselors that Bonin has assembled, that they might actually move it towards being clear. The trouble is that this man is unwilling to let the LAPD enforce the law. And without taking the handcuffs off the LAPD, it's all just going to come back. And there is the flaw: is that he got the city council to vote him an additional $5 million to hire the counselors, to pay for housing vouchers, a whole basket of services and housing. He could actually apply that, because he showed he knows how to do it, because he did it over on Rose Avenue, where there are 100 campers by the Penn Mall golf course. He moved them all out because of the fire danger over there last fall. He knows how to do it. He knows how to assemble the housing resources, the services, the counselors. Over there, he put up a big fence so they couldn't come back.
Right.
He has not proposed to do anything after these folks are offered housing and hopefully are given housing or given a bus ticket back to, Uncle Bob, or, put into drug rehab. I mean, there are lots of different avenues these folks can take to get off of the boardwalk and to free that space up, but they'll just be replaced by more folks from the Midwest who don't want to spend winter in freezing weather. And they love, so until he gets off this position, remember, he blasted Councilman O'Farrell for having used the police to help at the end with some of the diehards who wouldn't leave Echo Park. And until he gets off of that position, he's just going to allow this to be recreated. It's like a bathtub that you're emptying at one end, but you keep the spigot on at the other end. That's what's going to happen. And he's going to piss away that $5 million. And, those folks, they'll get help. But as far as reclaiming a public beach for the public, it ain't going to work until he lets the police and Rec and Parks go down there and simply say, no camping, no tents, nobody on the sand or the grass, the boardwalk after 12 o'clock. That's what the law is. And that's what O'Farrell's enforcing in Echo Park. And that's what Councilman Buscaino has been enforcing in San Pedro at his two beach parks ever since he's been in office. You go down there, there isn't a shopping cart, there isn't a sleeping bag, there isn't a pile of trash or personal possessions. There is zero, and it's very inviting to the public.
Bonin has complained that he can't fence off the oceanfront walk because it's the beach. It's not like Echo Park Lake where you can actually fence off the park. You can't fence off the beach. That was his complaint to the LA Times about a week ago. So he says it'd be difficult to do that. But again, you're right. If he's using the line that it's going to be housing, not handcuffs, then that tells me there's no enforcement here. They're going to talk to people again, but you've got the hardcore, some call them the free spirits. They don't want any type of housing. So what if they won't go? What if they won't go?
Well, then they're going to stay there if you follow Bonin's lead on this. But if, I met with the sheriff yesterday, and he was very clear that he's going to keep going. He's going to keep his host team out there. Remember, these are the same guys that relocated 875 people in 2015 who were in the LA river system, and the El Nino storms were coming, and they could see all these people getting flooded out. They relocated 875 people. So for this team, it's not that big a project to move 200 and get them properly housed or into rehab or, a bus ticket, back to El Paso. They have the competency to do this. The trouble is that I don't think the sheriff's in a position to permanently put his deputies on Venice Beach to continue to enforce no camping, no tents, nobody, on the sand after 12 o'clock unless you're going out to fish. That's where Mr. Bonin needs to get to, and not do what he's doing now, is basically relying on the sheriff to do the heavy lifting. He should give it back to the LAPD and let them do it.
All right, Mark, thank you very much for giving us your opinion on this. We appreciate it.
Thanks so much for giving me, the microphone. I really appreciate it.
Sure, it's Mark Ryavec. He's president of the Venice Stakeholders Association. Been on the show many times over the years, chiming in on the announcement by LA City Councilman Mike Bonin that we're going to clear out the homeless who are camped there at the beach in Venice. It's the area called Oceanfront Walk. They claim it's a couple of hundred people. I mean, I've seen estimates of 2,000 homeless in Venice. Maybe there is a couple of hundred in that particular section of the boardwalk. But again, the promise is they're going to be offered housing, and then they're given a time to take it. And if they don't, they're going to be told to move on. But this is housing, not handcuffs, is his stupid phrase he's using, which tells me enforcement is unlikely. We'll talk more when we come back on the John and Ken Show. KFI AM 640. John and Ken Show, yeah. We're live everywhere in the iHeartRadio app. So we're covering the sort of homeless breaking news that Mike Bonin, the councilman for the 11th District, which represents vast parts of the West Side, including the beach neighborhood of Venice, has announced that beginning Monday, June 28th, teams from the St. Joseph Center will go up and down Oceanfront Walk in Venice and offer housing and services to the dozens of homeless people living there. He's got a name for it, Venice Beach Encampment to Home Program. And it's going to include a whole bunch of other, we call them part of the housing industrial complex. These organizations that will be a part of this include PATH, People Assisting the Homeless. We talked about them. Something called Safe Place for Youth, Venice Family Clinic, Self-Help and Recovery Exchange, Claire Matrix, and others. And then the government agencies that get involved, including LAHSA, the failed Los Angeles Homeless Services Authority, which we told you yesterday a couple of LA City Council people want to withdraw the city of Los Angeles from because they've taken billions of dollars and had no effect. In fact, as my guest Mark Ryavec pointed out with the Venice Stakeholders Association, he's president, Mike Bonin has been councilman since 2013. And this problem has been around big time for the last several years. What if your plan to send teams out there to talk with the vagrants and get them into housing and whatever rehab services they need, if that works, why hasn't it done a job in reducing the homeless population in this part of Venice? Instead, it has exploded. In fact, this clown opened a 150-person bridge encampment a couple of years back. We covered that story, which many Venice residents opposed because it was near schools and a lot of people's homes. That's been a failure. In fact, many believe that when you do that, you actually attract more homeless people. Not necessarily because they can believe that they're going to get into the shelter encampment, but because you're tolerating the lifestyle. That's what this is all about. If you welcome it, it will grow. And Mike Bonin has proven that. So when he puts out this press release today, which I think is to stave off the recall effort, which is just getting underway, he's decided he wanted to make headlines. This is supposed to take 6 weeks. Beginning Monday, June 28th, they believe they can line up the housing. They're going to use vouchers. It's the same thing we heard before. Project Room Key, blah, blah, blah. They'll get some low-hanging fruit. They always do when they do this. But what we're looking at is a hardcore collection of people that are attracted. I mean, I think even Bonin said it himself. There was a quote in here. Yeah, it's the outdoor beach lifestyle the homeless in Venice say they like. With no cost, no rules, no real responsibility, they don't plan to leave anytime soon. He claims that with the help of other city officials, they have found permanent housing options for people experiencing homelessness. They claim that they have included substantial interim housing resources, including up to 6 months of motel placements per person as needed. And where are these places? We told you last week. They spent $9 million on a Ramada hotel that has 33 rooms. Do you have that kind of money? Allegedly tomorrow, Bonin and the city council, in one of those homeless committee meetings, will discuss funding this so they can kick this operation off Monday. And I think I can guess what's going to happen. Monday, there'll be a big media presence, right? And they want to overshadow what L.A. County Sheriff Alex Villanueva's deputies are doing. They're going to send in all these people from the St. Joseph Center, and they'll be there with their clipboards and their jackets and their badges, and they'll be talking to the vagrants, and then the media will leave. But they'll do a good job on the evening news showing you that Mike Bonin is doing something about the homeless encampments in Venice. And what will happen is these placement people will get a few of the vagrants to take what's being offered. And that'll also be played up in the news as, woo, look at that. It's working. But probably the vast majority won't go. We found out in Echo Park Lake, there were holdouts that had to be removed. In fact, I think there were more protesters and activists there the last night at Echo Park Lake when they shut the thing down for a cleanup than there were actually homeless people. But this crowd at Venice, this is hardcore. These are your classic beach bums who really, really want no responsibilities. And when they're interviewed, and they come from all over the country, we know that by now because, again, I said if you tolerate it, it will grow. The word gets out. You come here, you'll be left alone. You can hang out. You can smoke pot. You can play the guitar with your friends. You can sit there in a little drum circle or whatever the hell else you want to do, which I don't care. As long as you go far out of the public space, I don't care where you do this kind of stuff, right? Go down to Slab City. Go somewhere. But don't take over the beach, which is a precious resource that many people enjoy. So Bonin has been moved to do this because of Sheriff Villanueva and the recall. I believe it's just for show. Because when you come down to it, the only way you're going to clear people out is make them go. We found this out a couple of years back at the Santa Ana riverbed in Orange County, where that place had grown to disgusting proportions. They did the same thing that Bonin's talking about. They sent out placement people to talk to all the vagrants and line them up, if they were willing, with places to go, whether it's rehab or some sort of shelter. And some did go. A lot did not. They were then given a deadline, just like in Echo Park Lake. You got to go by this date and time because that's when we're closing this off and we're bringing in the enforcement operation to make sure you go. Now, will Mike Bonin do that at the end of this 6-week period? But again, it takes time to line up the vouchers. He's claiming it's going to be a 6-week operation. Now, remember, Sheriff Villanueva was talking July 4th to have everybody out of there. I don't know what his progress has been. You heard Mark Ryavec say that it looks like they're doing some good there. And, of course, Bonin has just waved all. They don't know what they're doing. They have no idea. They have no experience with it. Really? The situation has grown to the proportions it has, and you have the experience and the knowledge and the people to take care of it? You've proven that's not the case. You've proven complete incompetence, or you don't care. It's like Mark said, Bonin wants to put this up front in the face of people by having them on the precious beach to make us all aware of the costs of capitalism. People become displaced and unhoused. It's terrible and shameful. He likes that display. But now it's gotten to the point where he faces a recall. He's got to take some action, at least, theatrics, to make it look like he's doing something. All right, I have more coming up on the John and Ken Show. KFI, AM 640, John and Ken Show. John Cobelt, Ken Shampoo. The Moist Line is coming back on Friday. You can leave us a voicemail at 1-877-MOIST-86, 1-877-664-7886. More proof coming up at 3 o'clock that the L.A. County District Attorney, George Gascon, has to go. We'll be at the recall desk. You know what's funny? You Google, like, Mike Bonin, and immediately people also search for George Gascon and Nithya Raman. It's all the people under recall efforts. The only one that was missing there was Gavin Newsom. But the latest chapter in the George Gascon story, and you can go to recallgeorgegascon.com. If you're an LA County registered voter, you can download the petition, sign it, send it in to be a part of the effort to put him on the recall ballot. What he did after he became DA, he took a bunch of public defenders and he made them deputy DAs. And the proof coming after 3 o'clock is they're working with the criminals to lessen their sentences. I'm not kidding you. In this case, a murderer. Right. We'll be talking to one of the Marcy Law's attorney who's working with the families of the crime victims to try to get some sense of justice, because the LA County DA's office is worthless now with George Gascon in charge. So because of civil service protections, he has a tough time getting the deputy DAs out that oppose all of his motions to not charge the criminals and to release them early or lessen their prison time. But he has been able to bring in a few public defenders to serve as deputy DAs. And you're not going to believe this story. You'll hear it after 3 o'clock. But they're working with the criminals, with the murderers, to help reduce their prison time. You can't make this up. It's unbelievable. We were just talking about the homeless problem in Venice. LA City Councilman Mike Bonin has announced some plan to clear out 200 of the vagrants along the boardwalk there in a 6-week period. I just found out that he's looking for $5 million to do this. So if we're talking about 200 people, right, in that particular area, that basically maps out to, let me see here, like $25,000 a person, something like, I mean, that's the kind of funding he's looking for to clear out the 200 people on the boardwalk. But again, no LAPD. We're going to do this without handcuffs. It's all about housing. This guy's had 7 years to do something. In the last 2 years where it's been critical, he's done nothing. Now he's trying to claim, well, because of COVID-19, we had to hold back a little bit, you know, and now that we freed up some housing as the economy comes back, we can get these people. Yeah, we'll see. But I think the people in Venice almost don't care. They should recall him from office anyway. But whether he succeeds or Villanueva succeeds, getting the 200 people out of there, and really the whole 2,000 that we think are hanging out in Venice, to give those people some relief, we'll take it no matter where it comes from. Now we move over to the COVID-19 front, where LA County's public health director, the ghoul, Barbara Ferrer, still holding, and I think Deborah Mark said they're not every day. They're kind of like intermittent.
Yeah, she had one yesterday.
Right. There wasn't one today yet?
I don't believe so.
Okay. Well, yesterday's was to try to scare us with the Delta variant. And in case you're not following this, that's the variant that started in India, but we don't call it that anymore. They've assigned Greek alphabet names because it's just terribly judgmental to actually call something from its point of origin that name, which we have done for many years, the Spanish flu. Anyway, so it's the Delta variant, and they're trying to get everybody worked up over the Delta variant. The media still covers this stuff. I don't know why. Somebody needs to send her a quick message. The pandemic's over, all right? Apparently, between the people infected and the vaccines, it's over. And if it's spreading at all in any populations, it's young people who probably don't even know that they have COVID-19. Oh, and the Delta variant, which, it spreads horribly among the unvaccinated. Well, that's the theme, because she's recommending that employers demand proof of vaccination from you as you return to the workplace if you don't want to wear a mask, even though the state policy and the policy from the CDC is that a person just needs to self-attest that they've been vaccinated. She's recommending, along with the county health department, that employers actually check to make sure you have your vaccine paperwork before you walk around unmasked in the workplace, because it's just too big a chance to take. They're out of their minds. As we've said on the show many times before, they cannot give up control. And to do that, you have to continue to scare people into believing that this is still a health crisis. It is not. It is over. We have seen the downward arc of this thing for months. I don't think it's coming back. not with the vaccines and the infected out there with natural immunity. I think it's over. And again, every time you look this up, you find out that medical experts believe that the vaccines are fine protection against the horrible Delta variant. But instead, she wants to spread this nonsense. If a worker refuses to provide documentation of their vaccination status, they'll simply be considered unvaccinated and required to wear a mask covering at the workplace. She says that workplaces are problematic because employees often have little control over the amount and type of contact that they have with other people. You see, at home, you can figure that out, but in the workplace, and part of this story, workers are often exposed to hundreds, if not thousands of people on a daily. What kind of workplace are you in? You're exposed to thousands of people. What are you working at Staples Center? I don't really understand that. A factory with thousands of people in it? I mean, even if you work at a Costco or a McDonald's, you may come into contact with 100 people, thousands of people. See, in order to keep this going, you have to exaggerate everything. You exaggerate the risks, and all you got left is this Delta variant, which is highly transmissible. I heard today that the group left that's the most unvaccinated is 18 to 30-year-olds. Big surprise, huh? Right? They probably, if they get COVID, they're not going to suffer too many health consequences. Not all of them. There'll be some with underlying health conditions that do or do not know about those underlying health conditions, which could suffer big health problems. And, of course, that'll get the most attention, as it usually does in the media. But by and large, people in that age group are not concerned. And I heard today they're offering Xboxes. They're trying to offer even more prizes to people to give. I mean, if that works, fine. But really, it's time to move on from all this. I will be talking about the story that came out today. The Biden administration is admitting that they're not going to reach that vaccination goal that they announced earlier this year. By the 4th of July, they wanted 70% of American adults to have received at least one vaccine shot. As of yesterday, the number is 65%. And they will probably get to 67% on the 4th. I know, 70% is the magic. Somewhere in that area, we're supposed to have herd immunity. So that's always been this prized goal. But you know what? Can't have everything. Vaccine nagging is really should be on the outs. All right, I got more coming up on the John and Ken Show on KFI. John and Ken Show, KFI, AM 640, live everywhere in the iHeart Radio app. Do you know why there's like a kitchen chair in here with a little pad on it in the corner? It looks like an old wooden chair. It looks like
I think that's Bill Handel's special chair.
Oh, because of his back?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't been here in a while, and I saw that, and it looks so different from all the other, sort of rocking chairs that we have in here, padded.
It doesn't look that comfortable to me, though.
It does not. It does not look like it's like a stool. Anyway.
Whatever works.
Yeah. All right, I'm here with Cakes and Turcos over there. Yeah, she's getting excited about her trip next month, unless American Airlines collapses on us.
Shh, don't say that.
You know what I found out happened?
What?
Well, and I heard a woman complaining about this on the news. They added a lot of flights because they saw demand coming, but they didn't even think about whether or not they could staff all the flights. So they added all these flights, and this even happened to me. I have a trip planned later this year.
Where are you going?
And I'm going to London.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and they took out they took out my flight and put me on another flight, which is earlier, which wasn't pleasing to me because I think I have to take another day off to take the earlier flight. I had a flight like at 9 at night, and now it's going to be at 5:30.
I hate when they do that.
And it's funny. It only showed up when I went to the web page and looked at my account on the app, my American Airlines app. I called up just to check. It didn't change it yet. It still has the old flight. That's how bad they are right now because they're understaffed.
Oh, yeah. If you try and call them, you're on hold for hours.
Yeah, I know. I got lucky 2 months ago. I called and it was only on hold for about 45 minutes.
Oh, that's not bad.
Because it was late at night. So all the East Coast people probably gave up. It was like 9:30 Pacific time. So that's a good hint. If you live out here and you want to be on hold, call really late as you can here. because it eliminates some of the people in the middle of the country on the East Coast who don't feel like 1 a.m. to be hanging on for an airline. Don't call it like 10 a.m. our time. Really
That's a good
dumb.
tip, Ken, actually.
It's the same thing about booking flights. Don't book your flights on the weekend. They know that's when you want to do that. It's like everybody goes to the car wash on the weekend. By the way, I did road rage today.
You did?
I did. I gave a guy the finger.
Ken, he could have shot you.
He could have shot me. Although, you know what? I looked first and I just profiled. It was like an old guy, and I thought, probably doesn't have a gun.
You never know. So what did he do?
I was in the toll lane, right? I'm going a good clip, 70-something miles an hour, and he's in the regular lanes, and he crosses the lines at about 30 miles an hour right in front of me, just as I was getting there. I laid on that horn for a good 30 seconds. I was screaming. And he kind of looked at me like, huh? What happened?
Oh, yeah, he probably had no clue.
You can't do that. And if you're going to do that at 70 or 80 miles an hour. Really hit that accelerator. Don't just pull into those fast track lanes at 30 miles an hour because you don't like the traffic in the regular lanes. Probably didn't even have a transponder. Probably didn't. Who cares?
Well, I'm glad that you didn't get shot.
Yeah, I'm okay.
Yeah, you really shouldn't be giving people the bird these days. I actually had a similar situation. Well, not really, but I didn't flip anybody off. But I did honk at somebody because they went through a stoplight and almost hit me.
Yeah. Well, if you honk, you could get shot.
I mean, stop sign. Sorry, not a light. Well, yes, I could have. But again, I think honking, I don't know. Honking doesn't seem so bad. I mean, is somebody going to shoot me because I'm honking?
How did you honk?
Well, yeah.
You didn't see the movie?
I was aggressive.
The movie Unhinged with Russell Crowe.
Oh, yeah, I did.
Oh, you did see that? Well, you know about the courtesy tap.
That's true. No, I didn't give a courtesy tap.
That's what he's...
I was pissed.
For folks who don't know, it's a really bad movie, but it's about road rage. And a woman in a hurry to get to school with her little boy comes up behind a guy at a stop sign who just sits there. So she goes, "Brand!" And unbeknownst to her, he's already murdered his ex-wife and her husband by setting their house. I know we're laughing, but he clobbers them with like a hammer and then sets the house on fire. He's unhinged.
Yeah.
And her bad luck is that that particular day when she's in a hurry, she gives him the loud horn, and he looks up at her, doesn't say anything, but eventually when they encounter each other, he says, "You should have used a courtesy tap. Have you heard of a courtesy tap? Just a little bump, 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 bump."
Who does that?
Bump, bump, polite. And then her life becomes hell because he pursues her and tries to kill her.
Yeah.
And there you go. It's a bad movie. Please don't watch it.
Yeah, it was not a great movie.
Why did I do that? I think because it was on one of my streaming services and it was in theaters at the same time. I get caught up with that. Do you ever? Because it's in theaters at the same time. You think, oh, I can save like on a $15 movie ticket because this is part of my streaming service. And they give you like 30 days to watch it.
Well, plus you don't have anybody kicking the back of your chair.
Yeah, I know, but
I'd rather watch. I don't love going to the movies.
I have a pretty big screen at home, but it's not like the movie theater screen where you really get the immersive experience.
I know.
And the sound and everything is. I agree with you. I hate being in a theater with people.
They're coughing, they're sneezing, they're talking, their cell phones, or the light keeps going on.
Isn't that you?
No,
you're not checking social media while you're sitting.
No, my husband always says, "Now put your phone away, okay? Just don't answer it. Don't text."
Right, you do.
Right up until when the movie starts.
Yeah, to the previews.
But then sometimes I
do.
Ken, sometimes I have to look at my phone if somebody's texting me because what if it's an emergency? So I just look at it quickly and then I put it away.
You know, your life is completely full of what ifs. I've noticed that. What if there's an earthquake? What if there's a tsunami? What if it's an emergency?
Yeah.
What if there's a fire? What if...
Okay.
What if I get fired? What if somebody shoots at me on the freeway?
Well, then you won't have me doing the news. I can answer that one.
Bad things that could happen. Does that really consume your life? All the bad things that could happen.
Not all of those things that you mentioned. A few.
What if I don't like this avocado today?
Then I get another one.
All right, coming up next, we'll be at the Gascon recall desk. The L.A. County District Attorney came in with a mission. Yeah, to be on the side of the criminals, even the murderers. In the case we're going to talk about, one of George Gascon's operatives, a deputy DA, is a former public defender. We're going to talk about the victim's family, wants her removed from the case. It was a man who was murdered when gang members trying to steal his bicycle back in 2015. Of course, they were only 17 at the time, and Gascon has a hell of a lot of sympathy for 17-year-old murderers. He wants to make it so there's not a lot of prison time for this killer, and he's using his public defender, now deputy DA, to talk to the criminal and his family about doing just that. Coming up next, John and Ken Show on KFI. Deborah Mark with the news now.